Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Mastery Minds. So it's been a while, it's been about a month. There's a lot of reasons leading up to that, but the first one, and it's the topic that I'm going to be talking about in this episode, it's just me, Bree, and I'm going to be talking about creative burnout, which I feel like every single person who, honestly, in this world who works or does something has felt or has experienced. So, with creative entrepreneurship, when you do what you love and do it every single day, sometimes when you're forced to do it and you don't have that spark anymore, that creativity, the motive, you kind of get stuck and that creative burnout happens. It needs to creativity needs to be like fed enough inspiration, but not too much. And it's kind of like a balance. And because I was doing so much with a lot of freelancing and doing a lot of graphic design work for 2 different companies, as well as a lot of other ventures, I got burnt out. And it's something that I haven't experienced in a while, but I think I really needed space to grow, especially within creativity and getting inspiration. I care so much about what I do, but when you hit that creative burnout, it just feels like you don't have any more creativity to tap into, and you just feel like you've ran dry. Everybody, I feel like, has really dreaded creative burnout. So I think first off, I'm going to talk about some of the symptoms, right? Because with how do we know if we're having a creative burnout? What's the difference between creative burnout and just a creative block? So I think it's pretty normal for creativity. Oh my gosh, I can't even say that. Creativity? There we go. To fluctuate. And I feel like different factors such as sleep and stress and outside factors coming in can really affect your imagination and what you can do. And sometimes that can be taken as just you procrastinate I can't talk, you guys. Procrastination, or you can be just seeming like you're just tired, or maybe you just don't feel motivated. But when a lot of creatives rely on their work to, they rely on it for an emotional outlet. And so I do that too as well. A lot of what I do is how I get my emotions out. And so it's really hard when I'm burnt out. It's just a bunch of emotions and I have nowhere to put it. So here's a little list of signs that you may be a little bit burnt out. Procrastination, I think, is the number one biggest tell sign. You can just you put off that work for a few days because you feel like you just don't have enough of that energy to do it. Which, it's okay to procrastinate, but when it's over to what you normally, does that make sense? Yeah. It's okay to procrastinate, but if you're noticing it's more than what you normally are doing, then it might be, just a sign of that burnout. And if it's to the point where it's you're ignoring important deadlines, or just doing it for extreme long periods of time, procrastination is one of the major signs of creative burnout. The next sign is the struggle to do basic work. For me, I was really struggling just to put out a poster. Posters are pretty easy to do, or even just do a simple little drawing. It was so hard for me just to do something simple because I felt like my to-do list was just getting so long and I just couldn't bring myself to do even the easy things. And I just kind of neglected it, and so all of that stuff just kind of kept building up on that plate. So struggling to do just basic, simple work, whether that's, playing the guitar, or like I said, doing art, or moving around if you're a dancer, or anything, maybe making a video, making social media, anything creative. If you struggle to do something so basic, that might be another sign of creative burnout. Number 3, I think constant exhaustion is a pretty big one too. I mean, these are all kind of big. I'm gonna just put that out there. But exhaustion, there's a difference between being tired and being exhausted. Like, for example, sometimes we just don't get enough sleep and we feel like a bit sluggish the day after. And, like, that's completely normal. But if the physical exhaustion is like kept ongoing for a very long period of time, despite having like multiple hours of sleep, then that's another sign you're burning out. I know I struggled with that. All I wanted to do was sleep. It was a struggle to get up. I just felt like everything was like weighing on me, and I got a good 8 hours of sleep, maybe even 10 sometimes, and I just felt so exhausted. Number 4, just having stress built up that you can't even explain. This one comes to me a lot. It's built up in my shoulders and my like trapezius. Creative work can sometimes be really stressful, especially if you're dealing with clients or just bigger companies or even working just with a business. There's like a lot of different projects, a lot of different moving parts, lots of different people you have to interact with, and those factors definitely cause a lot of stress. But when you have that burnout, it may just constantly make you feel stressed without like being able to pinpoint what it is. So when I definitely felt that stress, like I said, it would build up in my shoulders, my trapezius. And so I started to work out to help cope with that a little bit and release that tension. Number 5, comparisons. Comparing yourself to others and what their productivity is and what their creativity is versus what you're doing, that's another sign. You can't like help but compare yourself between the person next to you. And I think with a lot of online creators, that is a big difference because everything is just constantly being put in front of you. Number 6, having this kind of goes along with the last one, having like a unbalanced content consumption. As a creator, it's kind of important to balance your levels of creative input and output, right? So when we're burning out, we kind of find ourselves scrolling, for example, through TikTok, through Instagram, through Twitter, or binging watching movies or TV shows, and watching all these other sorts of works, but not creating much of our own. We're not seeing a lot of inspiration. We're not taking that inspiration in and we're not putting it out. We're just taking too much in. And when also, on the other flip side of that, you're maybe creating too much and that's causing the creativity to go away, the motivation to go away. I think another one would just be maybe you're not really focusing on yourself, you're creating worse habits. Just maybe eating a more unhealthy food, abandoning like your exercise routine, maybe just doing really unhealthy stuff for your body, which even just leads to you feeling even worse. In general, I think it's a good thing to keep, even as a creative person, if you aren't even that active, it's good to keep good habits, and that'll affect the way you put out work and how you can deal with that work. I think another one for me, then I think this will be about the last one to notice, is irritability. When I got burnt out, anything anyone said about work just made me constantly and right on the spot irritated. I'm just like, don't talk to me about it. I got snappy, and that was one of the major ones for me. I just got snappy when anybody brought up my work and what I had to do, and that was a dead telltale sign of my creative burnout within this like last month. Also, I need to point out the difference between creative burnout and the good old creative block. So feeling occasionally stuck in working on a project is like completely normal, right? Sometimes I'll put this in example for myself. I'll be designing something and I'm not liking the way it's looking and I hit a block. I'm like, why does this not look the way I want to? Or why can I think of something to improve this or make this visually look better? And I leave it alone and I come back and I get over that block by doing a different project and coming back to that. But, creative burnout is so much more than that. Just from the reasons that I listed previously. Also, if you are experiencing like all of these signs that like I kind of listed, it might be like something a little more serious than creative burnout. Um, it's a big thing for mental health, and so if you have most of these little signs, you probably should check your mental health, right? So depression's a thing, anxiety's a thing, and it could just also just be caused by bad sleep problems. But if you're like ever wondering about that, it's good to talk to your professional. I think that's important. All right, so all these reasons and all the telltale signs. But how do you bounce back from that creative burnout once you feel like you do have it? The first thing I think would be to get support. Have someone there for you, someone complimenting you. Just, open up to someone and tell them, like, I've been feeling burnt out. I can't do this right now. And people are like willing to help, maybe give you a suggestion or maybe give you another idea or even make something for you to make your whatever creation come to life again, make you get inspired. And just, voicing your struggle is a really good step into bouncing back from that creative burnout. I think another one would just to be take a break. I needed a break and I definitely did not do so. But I guess I did, but it was a very small one compared to what I would personally like. Not just like a short walk, but take a few days off, read a book, do whatever you do to get out of a bad mood. Anything that makes you feel better. So maybe like I said, working out or going on a fishing trip or cooking or going to the movies or just hanging with your family or doing nothing. Like any of that is perfectly fine as long as you're resting and not constantly thinking about that work. Next one, make a space for self-reflection. I think that's a good one. Reflect on why you're feeling this way, how it got to this point, and how you can improve. Like write it in a journal. I think that's a good. Being self-aware is always good. What I did personally, I looked at my past work, and looking at my past work allowed me to think about, oh, I am doing so much better now. I forgot all about my past accomplishments and like what I thought was good and how I'm doing better. And I looked at all my bad work from the past, and it just made me want to keep going and be like, I need to make this better, right? So reviewing past work is really well to get over that creative block and overcome self-doubt. And even just starting with the basics. Just take a small amount of work, do a little thing at a time. Maybe if you're like designing a new website, just work on one page. If you're working on a new song, just work on the different rhythms, right? It just take those first baby steps to get out of that creative burnout. And with that being said, let's learn to prevent creative burnout. So I came up with a few ways to prevent it. I don't know if it'll help you, but if it does, awesome, it helped me. So I think a good way, like I said, is to be self-aware of how you're feeling when it comes to working and your creative work. Determine what works for you, what doesn't. Problem solve, learn from your past mistakes and your feelings, and learn how to catch those early signs of creative burnout. I think another one is to, like I said, have a good habit, good routines and rituals, maybe work out every day or go for a walk every day or cook something. Anything that is something you can continuously do. And, it'll make you feel a little bit better. This goes with the social media thing. Be aware of how much media you are taking in versus putting out. Social media, again, is so big and it can cause a lot of issues for a lot of people in their mental health and how they work because of comparison, self-doubt, and just having the constant variety of information coming into your, thoughts and your minds, it can just be distracting. Like, manage what information you are taking in. Just like how you may manage what kind of foods you're taking into your body. It's the same thing with media and your creativity. Also, maybe even do structured distractions. Some people work 9 to 5s. You know what? 9 to 5's not really fun. Maybe they are for you, right? But there's no reason to really be hyper focused on your work. It's okay to take a short period of time just to take a break. For example, 10 minutes. You're working for like an hour. Take 10 minutes off to, I don't know, go look outside. Just take a little bit of a break and get back in it. There's not a great reason to be hyper focused on a project for a very long time. So it'll help you with your overall well being. But overall, these are kind of the things I learned over the past month, and I hope this kind of helps if you have dealt with creative burnout. I know it helps me, and everybody has probably experienced it at least once in their life. It doesn't even have to be creative burnout, but burnout in general. And it's very relatable, not talked about, and it's good to know how to prevent it. And it really doesn't mean absolute, like, it means like nothing about your passion or talent or work ethics, Just keep that in mind. And there's like no permanent cure for creative burnout, but just knowing the telltale signs and know how to prevent it, and just applying, some ways to help you get out of that burnout is the best way to go. I hope you enjoyed this little episode. A little bit different from usual. Don't have a guest on. If you like this, please let us know. And I will catch you on the next episode. Make sure to follow the Instagram. We have a TikTok. And share. Thanks, guys. Love ya. Bye.